Shabbat Shalom. It's a beautiful Shabbat evening, and the next thing I'm going to say, I say every 4 years, just once every 4 years. You have no idea what I'm talking about, but every 4 years, the opening game of the Olympics is on Shabbat evening. As they say, just my mazel. Because I love the Olympics, I watch a lot of the sports, but I always miss the opening ceremonies, or at least half to 3/4 of it. That has been the case for the last 40 years. I think that's 10 Olympics, opening ceremonies that I've missed. It's in the service of God, so I hope that I'm getting a lot of mitzvah credits for that. But we are glad that you are here as well. Even though we're in competition with the Olympics, which is a wonderful sporting event that brings nations and people together in the best spirit, in the best of times. And we certainly need that in our world today. We certainly need the peace of Shabbat in our world today. And our opening song, Shalom Aleichem, on page 24, is meant to evoke that spirit of the shalom in the Shabbat. And you'll notice that Suzy is on piano this evening rather than her preferred instrument, guitar. That's in the shop. It's getting a little TLC so that it'll be ready for next week. And we join in Shalom Aleichem.
השרת מלאכי עליון ממלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא בואכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי הקדוש ברוך הוא ברכוני לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא צאתכם לשלום מלאכי השלום מלאכי עליון ממלך מלאכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא הקדוש ברוך הוא.
That's a very beautiful new melody. Suzy, the name of the group that...
This is Nava Tehillah, who
Nava
does
Tehillah.
that wonderful Oseh Shalom that we've done, the fast beat.
Are they a local group? Are they from this area?
They're in Jerusalem.
Oh, in Jerusalem now. Havon this year.
No.
We turn back for the blessing of the Shabbat candles, to page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Together, O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lechadlikneh shel Shabbat.
Our welcome of the Shabbat continues now with the classic Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmianu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shmor echad Hishem v'feret v'letila Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha Ki hi mekor haveracha Merosh mikedem nesucha Sof ma'aseh b'machshava tfila Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Hitoreri, hitoreri Ki ba'orech kumi ori Shirda uri uri Shirda beri Kevod Adonai alayich nigla Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela Lecha dodi li kakala yadada 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 Pnei Shabbat nekapela
This is an opportunity to rise and greet the Sabbath by facing the doorway to the synagogue.
Boi v'shalom עצרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם זה כולה בואי חלה בואי חלה לך תודי לי כקלה ירדה 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 בשבת נקבלה לך תודי לי כקלה ירדה 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 פני שבת נקבלה.
As we remain standing, a very mystical thought by Rabbi Lawrence Kushner. At the bottom of page 27, he writes, "Entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time, even at unlikely times and through unlikely places. There is no place on earth without the presence." Very challenging thought as we now continue with our call to worship, the Baruch Hu on the next page. Please be seated. This evening we'll read in Hebrew and then chant in the traditional manner, the first blessing after the Baruch Hu, giving thanks for the world around us, the world of nature and light and dark. On page 30, Baruch Atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, בחוכמה פותח שערים, ובתבונה משנה עיתים, ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, מבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב הרבים. Now from the world around us to the world within us, Ahavat Olam, Unending Love, page 32.
Torah
join together in the Shema and the V'ahavta.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו Baruch atah Adonai. Oh.
That's okay. We should start with the Michamocha before we do the V'ne'emar. Why? Because every week we give thanks for our freedom by saying thank you for our ancestors' experience. We cherish freedom all the more. Michamocha, page 40.
Osef
was a beautiful Mi Chamocha. Is that Josh Nelson?
Josh Nelson.
So far, the cantor has not introduced a new melody that I have not really liked, and I hope you feel the same way. And part of it is the wealth of wonderful composing that is going on in the Jewish community today. And part of it is certainly your renditions of those melodies
Well,
as
Josh knows how to rock.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Beautiful, beautiful. We have done a few other pieces by Josh Nelson. There's actually two composers with the same name, and they're both very talented. They're both talented. We continue with the Hashkivenu prayer. On page 42, grant, O God, that we lie down in peace, and raise us up, our guardian, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ushmor tzedzeinu, uvoenu, l'chaim u'shalom, be'atza ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu
Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Page 44, the people of Israel shall keep Shabbat, observing Shabbat throughout the ages as a covenant for all time.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית העולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש.
tefillah prayer that begins on page 46, the Amidah prayer, was the heart of rabbinic prayer. And you know that it's of significance because its alternative name is tefillah, the prayer, par excellence. And because the rabbis added the line that you see on page 46 as a prelude when they understood you can't recite the most important prayer or series of prayers without preparing yourself, once again, for that central prayer. That's how the first line that we're about to sing was added to the service. Page 46, we rise.
Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach,
Sefatai tiftach,
Ufi Yagid,
ufi yagid,
Tehilatecha,
ilatecha,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Sefatai Tiftach,
Sefatai tiftach,
Ufi Yagid,
ufi yagid,
Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu V'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'koneh Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdevot ve'Gimavot, U'mevii Geula livnei bneihem, Leman shemo v'Yahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atarach le'hoshia, Morid hatal, Mechakeh chayim b'chesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rafim, Somech noflim v'rafeh kolim, Umatir asurim, Umekayeh emunato, Lishaynei afan, Ni'amocha ba'al gevurot, Umitom elach, Melech ne'id, Umechayeh, Umatzliach Yeshua, Ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'kol yom yehallelu chaserla. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please be seated. On page 57, you are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt. in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. Together, there may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'odecha levadcha b'yirah na'avot. Shalom Rav, the concluding prayer of peace on page 60.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim
Now, at the end of the Amidah prayer, our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones in need of healing, be this a healing of body or healing of soul. As I walk around this evening, if you would like to name a loved one for this healing prayer, please do so, even as this Shabbat, like every Shabbat since October 7th, we also bring very much to mind the hostages, their families, the IDF soldiers and their families who continue to be in captivity or in harm's way. מי שברך אבותינו ואימותינו הוא ישלח במהרה רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוף, ונאמר אמן.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאימותינו, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אימותינו מקור הברכה לאבותינו, bless those in need of healing with רפואה שלמה, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
As we're about to pause for our own moments of silent reflection, there's an expression in this week's Torah portion. It really stands out. I'll explain its significance a little bit later, but it's made up of two of the most important words in our tradition. The first word is brit, which means covenant. It's sometimes pronounced bris. Bris does not mean circumcision. Brit milah. Milah means circumcision. Brit means covenant of circumcision. So brit is a word, covenant, used many times to explain the relationship between Israel and God. Even Noah is given a brit as well, a covenant as a survivor of all humanity. So covenant, and the second word is shalom. Brit shalom, the covenant of peace, the gift of peace. So we pause now and think about how that striking term might be operative in our life. In what ways can we make a brit shalom? Perhaps with people we need to bridge the gap with. We pause. Was it only 3 weeks ago that we talked about Joe and Moses? President Biden and Moses, and I suggested Joe might take a page from Moses, who realizes, with a little help from God, that he needs to pass the torch to a new generation. That actually takes place in this week's Torah portion, where Moses is not sure who that is going to be, and beseeches God, help me choose my successor so that the Israelites shall not be like sheep without a shepherd. Moses understands there needs to be a new generation. It needs to be invested with authority, and before he dies, he publicly ordains Joshua as his successor. So maybe the Almighty, in the mysterious ways that the Almighty works, did speak to Joe, because he had told us, the president, it was only if the Almighty told him. Was that a direct communication, or does perhaps the Almighty work through Nancy Pelosi and people like that? We don't know. But so many things have happened, our heads are spinning with the political developments in our country. And the week before last, I will say, and it doesn't go beyond this room or this live stream, that I actually tuned into part of the Republican National Convention because I wanted to hear what the former president would say in the wake of the assassination attempt on his life, and if that had changed him, affected him in some way. I won't comment upon that, other than to say that the past president said several times that he believed that God had directly stepped in to save him. And that refrain was echoed many times during the convention itself. And it brings up the questions, is God essentially active in our political and national life? And if so, does God choose sides? Can we identify God as on one side or the other? A lot of people are talking about this question. You may have your own thoughts about it, but I'd like to frame it with the wisdom of Abraham. Now, when we talk about Abraham in the religious school, we always have to clarify, because many of the kids think we're talking about Abraham Lincoln. That's who they hear about in public school. But more often than not, we're talking about Abraham the patriarch in our tradition. Well, at the moment, I'm actually referring to Abraham Lincoln, because part of his greatness, like Moses, I believe, was his humility. In many of the speeches, you feel the humility of a man who has the weight of the world on his shoulders. And in his famous, iconic, second inaugural address, he spoke to this question. When many people were arguing God was on the side of the Union, but Confederates were arguing God was on their side even though they had lost. And he noted that and said, the Almighty has his own purposes. He was not sounding a note of triumphalism. He acknowledged that people beseeched God on both sides and said, we will really never know God's will. And then he ended, of course, with the famous phrase, with malice toward none. That we should not be so confident, so righteous, that we should be humble enough to realize that though we fight for what we think is right, we have to recognize the humanity in others, and he was calling for a time of reconciliation to try to bring the nation back together again. Earlier in his career, Lincoln had said, "My concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side," which he said is the side of righteousness. So Lincoln was saying we all need to have humility and understand we don't have all the right answers. We are not all in the right and others are all in the wrong, even though he led a war over a great moral issue of slavery. You know, in this Torah portion, there's a brutal story. And the grandson of Aaron the high priest, that would be the grandnephew of Moses, named Pinchas, takes into his own hands, literally, a zealot, fanatical view that says that someone who has committed a sin by consorting with Moabite women after the Israelites had been commanded not to, needs to be killed, and in full view of the community, no jury, no trial, he kills that individual, the man and the woman. And we might be saying to ourselves, this is vigilante justice, and where's the humility here? And then the Torah says something really mystifying. It says, God rewarded Pinchas, this zealot, with the Brit Shalom, with a covenant of peace. And the plague that had been afflicting the people, it was stopped. The plain meaning here is that God did take sides with Pinchas, with the vigilante approach, and rewards him for this act. If that's making you uncomfortable, it should. Did it make the rabbis reading the Torah uncomfortable? It did. And they were trying to understand, does God really take sides here? And does God reward this fanatical move of killing a man and a woman simply because they had what was considered to be forbidden relations? The rabbis can't deny the plain facts, but they come up with a novel explanation. You might not accept it, but I want to offer it to you. In offering Pinchas the Brit Shalom, the covenant of peace, God was actually saying, the only thing I can do for somebody so zealous, so fanatic, is offer a covenant of peace to him and his descendants so that they will seek the way of peace rather than the way of killing going forward. In other words, they almost invert the plain meaning of the text to saying all God could do in this case, because there is human free will, is say, I bestow upon you a covenant of peace in the future so that this doesn't happen again. It's a very contrary reading, but it's a strong one in rabbinic and Hasidic thought. It brings me back to the initial expression about Lincoln that I said. We should be cautious about saying that we understand God's will. God is so much beyond the ken of any of us. We should remember that humility is a sign of strength, not of weakness. Humility leads those to say, maybe I'm wrong, or maybe I don't have the whole truth, or maybe I said something or did something for which I should make amends. That all comes from basic humility. When we have that humility and understand that God is beyond choosing sides, then perhaps we can live on to what Abraham Lincoln also said in his second inaugural address, that we live up to the better angels of our nature. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
It's always nice to see the light of the ark, as we do now, as we turn to page 282 for the Aleinu prayer. And as we open the ark, we rise.
Aleinu לשבח והטון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שם לנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נותן שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושב יקרה בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגודל מרומי, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ארץ מלכנו נפסולתו, קרקעתו ותורתו, ידעת היום בהשבות אל לבבך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים, השמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
On this Shabbat, we now call to mind in love and reverence the Yortzeit, the anniversary of passing of Selig Kachin, father of Muriel Reed, Minnie Summer, mother of Beth Ziff, Aryeh Abelitz, father of Hannah Benish. For all those close to our hearts, for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the Kaddish prayer on page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbi, be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'hayechon uvyomechon, uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uv'zman kariv v'emru amen. Yehei shmei Rabba mevorach leolam olamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. v'tadar v'tale v'talal shemei dekudesha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amirat be'alma v'imru amen Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya v'hayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen Oseh shalom bimroma hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Please be seated. Over the summer, Marshall Jacobowitz became the new president of our synagogue. I'm happy to call Marshall up for announcements, which welcome and announcements, one of the most important duties of the president.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Rabbi, for the beautiful talk, bringing together a previous discussion and following with everything that's going on today. And thank you, Suzy, for the gold medal performance on the piano today. Just a few short announcements. Number one, service next week is our outdoor service on the patio. So that will start at 6 o'clock. So not at 7:30, but at 6 o'clock. There, also next week on Sunday, we're celebrating a barbecue with Congregation Gesher Shalom. And that'll take place on Sunday, August 4th from 2 to 4 o'clock on the patio. If we do need to RSVP, if you want to come, there's an email address that was in the weekly email that went out this week. We're also going to try and send out a reminder email that has all that information about that. And finally, the book club is reading The Wolf Hunt, and the meeting for that club will be on the first Monday in September. And that's it. Shabbat Shalom.
I wanted to add that next week for the service, hopefully outdoors at 6, or even if it is indoors, it's going to be a summer camp music style service. Suzy is going to highlight some of the melodies that are all the rage at the summer camps. So it's going to be very folk style and should be a lot of fun. Yes. You know, approximately once per month, once again, ever since October 7th, and we were reminded of that in the words of the Israeli Prime Minister to the joint session of Congress this week, in little ways that we've tried to keep this in the forefront of our own thoughts and prayers, like at the Misha Barak healing time. But about once a month, we've also just been singing Hatikva to keep that connection strong as well. So we wanted to do that this week. Hatikva being the national anthem of Israel, but in some ways the anthem of the Jewish people everywhere. The words are on page 374. For this we rise.
Kolot balev,
Shabbat Shalom.